So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nazim Adil bin Ahmad Nizam. My metric number is 231415. And beside me is...
And my name is Muhammad Amir with metric number 2310141. And today we're going to talk about peace for our podcast about peace beyond silence, from conflict to sincere peace. For our introduction is peace is often described as the absence of war, violence or conflict. But peace is really just about things not going wrong, I guess. So what's your opinion?
Today, we actually approach peace from many different angles. It's from social, from emotional, philosophical, and also spiritual. Because peace is not only covering the global scale, it's actually covering all of the people inside this world. It's personal, everyday, and deeply human. What do you think, Amir?
So for our topic today, we can use some popular songs that many of us already know. We'll reflect on how peace concepts with prosperity, sincerity, forgiveness, and also happiness, and why peace matters for our generations.
Alright, I think that's for our introduction. We move on to the next part. Alright, moving on to our first segment, which is conflict versus war. So, conflict that appears when love is not inside. So, when we hear about the word conflicts, it doesn't always necessarily mean war. It doesn't mean like we are fighting each other. It usually comes and it silently appearing from the thing like inequality, from discrimination, from the little conflicts that we had in our life. So even emotional harm that people experience every day.
So, yeah, and that's why peace isn't just about the absence of war, A society can look peaceful on the surface, but if people are struggling to survive, feeling unheard, or treated unfairly, then conflict is still exists for nowadays, just in type of different form.
That's exactly what the song from Black Eyed Peas, which is Where Is Love, explains about. It gives about the racism, it explains about racism, terrorism, and also injustice. And it questions why hatred keeps repeating itself. It shows that when love disappears, conflict slowly takes the control.
Yeah, and this is where prosperity become important. Peace and prosperity needs each other. When people don't have access to education, jobs, or basic dignity, frustration always builds up. That frustration can turn into some sort of anger, crime, or even violence.
Which proves that prosperity is not a long-lasting thing. You can't even tell people, like I'm telling him, that just stay peaceful. It's not that hard. It's not that case for the peaceful itself. Peace requires the basic needs, which is the communication and then their basic needs. So when these things aren't met, peace is fragile. It doesn't last.
So from a philosophical view, conflict itself isn't always the problem. Conflict is natural because humans have different needs, opinions, and also interests. The real issue is how conflict is actually handled in nowadays.
Exactly. Peace doesn't mean that we have to avoid conflict forever. It's just we have to address a conflict ethically, honestly, and responsibly through dialogues, justice, and understanding each other instead of denial or force to the against person.
So, when we talk about peace, we shouldn't ask, is there no war for our country, which is our country has already gained independence? We should ask, are people treated fairly out there? Are their voices heard? Or are their life being dignified?
Because true peace isn't about avoiding and also isn't about silence. It's just from stability built on justice. Alright, it's a wrap for segment 2. Segment 1, I'm sorry. Moving on to the next segment.
So, peace also requires sincerity. saying sorry alone isn't enough if nothing actually changes, you know. Real peace doesn't come from words, it's come from the action itself. That's why Michael Jackson's Heal the World feels so powerful to his fans. It reminds us that peace begins with when we genuinely care, especially for those that are vulnerable and often being ignored in this world.
And that raises an important question. Can peace exist without accountability? Because if someone causes harm but never takes responsibility, the conflict may not be on the surface, but emotionally it's still there. It's just like a reconciliation. Peace cannot be forced or rushed.
Exactly. Forced peace is fragile. True peace requires understanding what went wrong, acknowledging the harm caused, and making a conscious effort to change. Without the moral awakening, peace becomes performative. It looks peaceful, but it doesn't feel peaceful.
This is where forgiveness often gets misunderstood. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing harm. It means choosing healing over hatred. But forgiveness can only happen when there is a sincerity and responsibility from both sides.
From an Islamic perspective, the idea is very clear. The word Islam itself comes from salam, meaning peace. Islam teaches that peace begins with the self through sincerity, which is Ikhlas, justice, which is Adil, and compassion, and you can say Rahmah.
I also want to add it on you for that. Islam also teaches that peace cannot exist with the arrogance or denial. If someone refuses admit wrongdoing, they block their own inner peace. That's why repentance, that's why self-reflection and humility are so important.
So, sincere peace isn't about pretending everything it is okay. It is about confronting mistakes honestly, seeking forgiveness, and choosing to become better. That's how inner peace forms. And when individuals find peace within themselves, it slowly spreads to the society around them.
To close off, peace without sincerity is temporary, but peace built on accountability and compassion, that's the kind that lasts. Starting us, segment 3, peace as happiness, everyday action matters. John Lennon invites us to rethink peace as unity, beyond borders, labels, religion, race, or nationality. The song imagines a world where people aren't divided by identity, but connected by shared humanity. And that sense of belonging is closely linked to happiness.
You know, because when people feel accepted and included, they feel safe. And when people feel safe, they're more likely to live peacefully. That's why peace isn't just a political concept, it's an emotional one too. Peace creates space for happiness, growth, and also trust.
But peace doesn't only happen on global or national level. It starts in everyday life. It's in how we speak to people who disagree with us, how we treat strangers, and how we respond to differences without immediately turning to anger or judgment.
Small actions matter more than we think actually. Choosing empathy instead of insults, listening instead of reacting, and also respecting differences instead of mocking them. These are everyday forms of pieces. They may seem small, but collectively, they shape the society itself.
This is exactly why the United Nations introduced SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institution. Because without peace, societies can't function properly. People don't feel secure, development slows down, and trust in institution disappears.
So my opinion is strong institutions create fairness, justice, and also accountability. And that helps prevent conflict before it even started. When people trust the system and feel they're being hurt even more, they're less likely to turn to violence or hatred that can cause the war.
So peace isn't about ending wars. It's about creating environments where people can live with dignity, feel protected, and pursue happiness without fear.
And maybe that's the most important lesson of our today. Peace isn't just something about distant or even impossible. It's something we practice every day in our life through our choices, our value, and how we treat others around us. Yeah. So, at the end of our session today is why actually peace matters to us. Philosophically, peace isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's about resolving it with justice, reason, and also our own responsibility within ourselves. You know, conflict will always exist nowadays. But how we do actually respond, whether peace is possible or not.
So let me tell you, Amir, from an Islamic perspective, peace starts within. Islam comes from salam, meaning peace achieved through sincerity, justice, forgiveness, and compassion, not denial or hatred.
So, the solution is not just about ending wars, right? But building peaceful minds, fair system, and also empathetic the communities.
Because when individuals practice peace daily, society follows, and that's how real peace lasts. Alright, that's all for our podcast. Thank you so much for sharing to us and tune in with us.
Make sure you guys fill in on the comments below, okay? Bye-bye.
Alright.
Assalamualaikum.